Yes.
It's time for a good old-fashioned Q&A, MMA fans.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment has arrived to hear from the man himself, Ariel Helwani. Live from the Box Studios in beautiful New York City, it's On the Nose. And now, to answer your questions, get out of your seats and on your feet because here he is, Ariel Helwani.
Oh, by the way, to everyone who said, "Oh, Ariel, what do you know about open scoring?" You just had Tyson Fury say that he'd be down with open scoring. He also said no British judges. That's a different story. But, don't listen to me. Listen to Tyson Fury. Is that good enough for you, Sean Sheehan? Is that good enough for you, anonymous judge? I'd say so. Oh, but they can't handle the pressure. They will crumble and they will all run away from the sport if there's open scoring. Why? Because you're afraid of accountability? Because you're afraid of people calling you out? Come on. Oh, they will all crumble under the pressure. You just had Tyson Fury say, he's down. That's good enough for me. Why? Why do I have to? No, I'm not going to. All right, here we go. On the nose. Answer some questions. We have two. Yeah. There's actually two breaking news. That was the first one to let you know that El Cubano isn't first, but there's actually even a better one, which is to let you know that we have a new little element to this. There it is. Now, is it getting a little lost in the shot? I mean, GC, how long did you work on this thing? This is incredible. This is some of the best.
Too long that I'd like to admit.
Really? Like, what are we talking? A couple hours? A couple days? A week?
A couple hours. It was,
Now, what happens? Every time I answer a question, the number's going to go up?
The number will go up by 1 every time you answer a question.
Let's test it out. So, El Cubano is in first. Antonio Lemos. And by the way, thank you for doing this. I love this. So I guess now that I'm answering the question, it should go up to 1. Or does it go up to 1 only when I finish answering? Interesting.
I guess you just answered that yourself, so you just got 1 there.
Okay.
You might be onto something. It's getting a little lost. I might have to change the color up on the text.
Yeah.
It'll only take a couple more hours.
Okay, perfect. Ariel, we all heard what Dana said about Conor possibly receiving a title shot upon his return. I know we've seen fighters get a shot after a loss, but have we ever seen a fighter get a shot after 3 straight losses in the division? Ranked number 9, blah, blah, blah. I just say chill out, guys. Just chill out. This is headlines. This is chatter. Just chill out. Is he getting the title shot in May? No. Chill out, all right? Chill out. Let's just see how it plays out, all right? He said he was getting a title shot after Cerrone. It didn't happen. Don't forget these things. Chill out. Hey, Ariel, I noticed... yeah, there you go. I noticed Colby hasn't been on your show in a while and is constantly talking bad about MMA media. Is he? I don't know. Is he? I'm not watching. Is there any chance he'll be on the show soon? I don't think so. Colby is mad at me because after the Tyron Woodley fight, and you remember he did all that stuff with Usman, I was on my show with DC and I said I thought it went too far. And he's mad at me now. He's calling me woke and all this stuff. I was like, yo, man, like the stuff went too far. And by the way, if you're a heel, you should be able to take that. And come on the show and tell me why you think I'm wrong about that. But again, I'll repeat for maybe the 1,000th time on this. I always have a hard time saying 1,000ths. I can't do it. 1,000ths. I can't do it. I just literally can't do that. 1,000th. I don't know how to do it. Can you do it, Frank?
1,000ths.
It just doesn't work.
What do you mean it doesn't work?
1,000th. I can't do it.
TH is at the end.
Yeah. 1,000th time. Is that right? Doesn't sound right to me.
I legit do not know.
1,000th time. That's the problem. It's the DTH. There's no other word that has the DTH at the end. Anyway, for the 100th time, I had to go to battle for that guy so many times at ESPN. So many times. Don't wear the hat. I say no. Shoot, under the hat. I say no. Fleet Week video that we did on him and the troops. No one wanted to do that. Push for it. Push for it. Hey, there's a different side to this guy. Let's show the different side. Let's show the juxtaposition of the two personalities. And then I say one negative thing about the dude. And it wasn't even negative. It was a criticism. Oh, you're done. Oh, you're woke. You're this. Come on. Like, give me a break, bud. And now all of a sudden, he's going around talking smack about media and all this stuff. The truth is probably that I'm not at ESPN anymore. So he goes to the next guy there and he thinks like, oh, okay, I don't need this dude anymore. I don't need to kiss up to him anymore. So, I'll still be. Meanwhile, he was talking smack about everyone who was there. When I was there, I leave, you need that ESPN rub because you're trying to get the pay-per-view points, and you can crap on people like me. That's fine. I'm totally okay with it. But if you're asking me for the 100th time why he's not on the show, it's his prerogative. I've asked him to come on. I have no problem saying that. I've asked him to come on relatively recently as well. Hey, man, come on and tell me why you don't like me. Come on and tell me why you're mad at me. No, woke. All right. Okay, bud. God bless. Nico. And then, of course, someone's going to clip this off and be like, oh, Ariel's mad. Couldn't give two shits. Tyson Fury on the show, Canelo, sign me up. Sign me up. Before I get to my question, I want to give a big shout out to the people of Ukraine, from global superstars joining the front lines to everyday citizens staring down the barrel in defiance of the invader. The incredible courage, resilience, and determination of the Ukrainians is nothing short of awe-inspiring and a true testament to their fighting spirit. My thoughts and prayers are with them. My question is about fighters showing unexpected savvy in dealing with the UFC brass. In your opinion, which fighter doesn't get the credit they deserve for their intelligence and strategic mind in dealing with the UFC? First one would be Nathan Diaz. And apparently that's Nico's as well. My pick would be Nate, who in the lead up to 244 brilliantly turned the tables on the UFC and forced them to publicly clear his name of any alleged steroid use. That was pretty amazing. I mean, literally like within a day. Or lose out on the biggest event of the year with mere days and no replacement in sight. Yeah, Nate would be the first one. Masvidal would be up there as well. Remember, Masvidal was at odds with the UFC in the summer of 2020. It looked like he was on ESPN talking about fighter pay. And then Gilbert, test positive for COVID, and then they need him, and he's getting all this money and all these opportunities. So those two guys actually would be at the top. Conor, of course. It's the big dogs. They know what they're doing. Izzy. El Cubano, like fourth on the list. Wow. I think that's breaking news worthy. Fourth on the list. This weekend's main event of Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal is filled with all types of personal beefs and drama. Flying under the radar of that drama is the very personal feud that has been going on for years between Marina Moroz and Maria Agapova. Which fight is more likely to end with a hug or a handshake? I definitely agree with Dan Lambert when he says that the Covington-Masvidal fight isn't going to end with a hug or a handshake. Don't know about Moroz and Agapova. If I had to pick one, I'll go with that one. Hugo, Mr. Helwani, you have interviewed the who's who of wrestling, boxing, and MMA. Thank you. Who's one fighter entertainer you were legitimately starstruck on meeting, interviewing? During the fall of 2021, I met El Gran Campeón, Julio Cesar Chavez. Not junior, senior. He also signed my mitts. So if you ever get Helwani Boxing up and going again, what do you mean up and going again? We've been here for years. I'd be more than down to work mitts with you. Oh, thank you. Helwani Boxing and Sotelo Boxing. Thanks, Ariel. P.S. I liked how you put that Benedict Arnold, Henry Cejudo in his place when you said he had to ask for permission from his daddy to come on. Arriba Helwani. Yeah. Arriba. Viva la raza. Starstruck? Haven't been too many. I remember when I was in front of BJ Penn the first time, I was like, wow, this is BJ Penn. That's pretty cool. It's usually like the first, like even now, that's Tyson Fury, and I'm not starstruck. I mean, I'm appreciative, and, you're like, whoa, wow, this guy is a really huge deal. And you're just kind of sitting and talking with him. But I can't really say, doing the NBA stuff, I was like, wow, here I am talking to Kawhi Leonard. He just got a triple-double for the first time in his career, and I'm on the court with him. Kind of like starstruck by the moment, in awe of the moment, but not so much the person, if that makes sense. Shalom, was Sal Diamato the judge, this is from Trey, that messaged you during the show on Monday? Talk about a guy that wouldn't want to show his live score. Sheesh, it wasn't Sal. Also, please tell Frank you're sorry for giving him a hard time for the extra breaking news soundbite on Monday. Frank is a saint and only has a perfect timing with that bite. Who is right? Is this you, Frank, Trey?
I don't have to answer that.
Wow, this is interesting. Okay. Well, there you go. Trey's in your corner, Frank. Nick, Ariel, do you watch the Embedded series and can fighters say no to being on it? I think it's kind of part of the promotional deal. I'm just going to be 100% honest. And it's not like I'm going out of my way. I can't remember the last time I watched Embedded. Cannot remember. And maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe I'm not doing, enough research. I'm not doing my due diligence. I cannot legitimately, we had a debate about this before the show. Frank says I say legit too much. He says I speak like a 16-year-old. You said this, yes?
Yeah, I sure did.
In this case, I cannot legitimately or legit say that I have watched Embedded in the last 2 years. Which one would be correct?
Legitimately.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. No particular reason. I'm not trying to boycott. It's just, I don't know. I felt it wasn't really worth watching anymore. I don't know why. Newman. Hello, Ariel. Hello, Newman. I echo everything Nico Suave said about the people of Ukraine. Truly inspiring. Respect. Also, shout out to Killishaw. Respect. We'll see if he pops up. My question is, how does the UFC determine the order of a fight card? I feel like they could do a better job of putting a spotlight on their up-and-coming stars by showcasing them on a main card. There's not a lot of rhyme or reason, to be honest. We need less Greg Hardy and Caitlin Chukagian on main cards and more future stars. I wonder what's going to happen with Caitlin. There's some thought like who will headline the prelims and who's going to be co-main. But honestly, they'll put some of those bigger names on the prelims to build up to the main card. There's no real science behind it. Lewis, my man, afternoon Ariel. Today's question is a simple one. When it comes to interviews, do you prefer asking why or how? Much love, Lewis. Golly. Why, probably. I would say why. Why did you do this? I mean, how is a great one too, but I think why is the more interesting one if I had to pick one. Another great one. Trug. Hola, Ariel. My only question for you is there really nothing a double leg can't fix? Fix a lot of things. Thank you for your time, your response, and all the great work you do. Also, shout out to P.F. Chang's intelligence. Shout out to the homeless cats. Stefan, hello, Mr. Helwani. Why are we just ignoring Justin Gaethje and acting like the fight against Charles isn't even on the table anymore? Does he not exist or something? I agree. Islam's path has obviously changed drastically. No hate towards him, but why did it seem like almost predetermined that if he won against Green or Dariush or anyone, he would automatically be the number one contender over Gaethje? I don't agree with that. I think everyone was saying hey, if Islam wins this fight, he'll fight the winner of Gaethje versus Oliveira, and that's what we're getting. All love from Central PA. Respect. Arash. Hi, Ariel. Any inside news on why Islam versus RDA didn't happen? Looks more like it was on the UFC's part that it didn't come to fruition. Like I said, there is a chance that the UFC said, you know what, we're not going to entertain this. But then if so, why is Islam saying that RDA, fumbled the bag? Why do you say that? That wasn't very nice. And it's also not true because he didn't. My feeling on it, and again, I always feel like I have to preface, especially with those guys, you got to preface that you've been praising them 9 times out of 10. But in this case, I feel like RDA called his bluff. And you know what? I don't blame him for not wanting to fight a week later. Just don't say it initially. Don't play the game of saying, I want to fight at 170, and then he goes 165, and then he says, oh, you're going to run away, and then he finally says 170 5 minutes later, and then it's like, nah, it's not happening. What was that all about? Come on, guys. Let's be honest here. Any updates on when Rose returns? Not yet, but hopefully by the summer. Do you think it's impressive to go undefeated as a striker or a grappler? For example, is Izzy's 185 reign more impressive than Khabib's reign because he did it all via striking? Yeah, I think that's a fair thing to say. Yeah. I think it is more impressive to go undefeated as a striker than a grappler because you could be taken down. If you're a guy who doesn't have any grappling, right? If you're just a striker. Now, Izzy has evolved a lot in the grappling department. But yes, I think that is a fair thing to say. Will, can you compare Colby Covington's Brazil promo to any great pro wrestler's promo that catapulted or saved their career? Well, some people don't actually think that was a great promo. Some people don't like it. Pro wrestler's promo. I mean, there have been some great pro wrestling promos, not one that I think, if the story is true that he was hanging on by a thread and he was about to get cut, I mean, obviously there's like the CM Punk promo, there's the NWO promo, there's the Shawn Michaels stuff back in the day, but not one that like the dude was about to get cut and then he cuts his promo. Because again, it's different, right? Like they're writing that stuff for them. They're putting them in that position. Colby kind of just took advantage of the moment. He won. He's in Brazil. It worked. Hi, Ariel. Australian fan here. Shouted at you from behind the barrier at UFC 193 Open Workouts in Melbourne. Wow. It has been a while since you have traveled to any overseas events or had to deal with the unruly Australians. Do you have any favorite cities or memorable moments from overseas MMA travels? Yes. Was Holly knocking out Ronda the loudest crowd reaction you have ever heard? Not even close. I actually thought that crowd was a little quiet. It was a Sunday morning. It was a cavernous stadium. Yeah, I didn't think that was like a particularly great or hostile or loud crowd at all. Actually, Casey, longtime videographer, who, by the way, is going to have his amateur MMA debut March 19th. I wish him the best. Was reminiscing yesterday about UFC 144. UFC 144, one of my favorite events. We were in Japan. We went to a pro wrestling event. We went to the Tsukiji fish market. That was amazing. That's one of my favorite events, without a doubt. I love that event overseas. I mean, Abu Dhabi was great. UFC 112. UFC 127 in Sydney was one of my favorites as well. Remember, we went to the beach. Everyone's surfing over there. We went to the zoo. We did a little rugby. Yeah, the overseas events were great, and it's always very special. Getting to go to UFC 120 in England was great. They had the Fan Expo there. Obviously, the Dublin card was great. UFC 134 in Brazil and Rio was very special. Getting to go to Rio for the first time, getting to go to Brazil for the first time was super cool. Anywhere in Canada was great. Getting to go to Vancouver was awesome. So yeah, I mean, all of those. I definitely miss getting to see some of those places. Like I loved it. It was amazing. And I hope to go back. I don't think that my days of traveling are over. It's just a little more scattered these days. It's so hard for me to read without my glasses, but I'm going to try here. Someone who is Jewish, have you seen the movie The Pianist? Yes. If not, I would recommend you to do so. Yes, I have seen it, and it was amazing. Hey, Ariel, hope you're well. Do you think if Colby had paid the striking coach, Paulino Hernandez, in full, him and Jorge would have remained friends and never fought, or do you think Jorge was looking for a reason to cut his friendship with Colby? Only really a question that Jorge can answer, but it felt like it was inevitable. Once Colby saw the way things were going and the reaction he was getting, feels like it was inevitable. Try this one on for size. Covington wins, cuts a promo, end of the fight, calling out the Notorious, fights Conor 170 in July. July part, no chance. The other part, I mean, anything goes. But yeah, I mean, golly. Didn't really think of that, but I could see it happening. The one thing you have to say about Colby, he comes from the Chael Sonnen school of promotion. He's always got that next one. He plants a seed. Even when he lost to Usman, he was already talking about Masvidal. So I'm sure he has the next one already planned in his mind. Hey, Ariel, I can confirm you did butcher the pronunciation of hello in Irish, but it's okay. In a game of F, marry, kill, who are you picking between Brendan Schaub, Dana White, and Dylan Dennis? I mean, what? Stupid question. That's just a bad question. You could take. Can we go backwards on the question counter? Or does it only go up? Oh, now we went to 0. I guess we can go back up. Oh, could we go like -1? Does that work, GC?
You're really asking for a lot here.
Oh, boom, nailed it. Yeah, that guy doesn't deserve to be on the counter. Adam, first, Ariel, do you think Nasrat Haqparast and Kelvin Gastelum are long-lost twins? No. Secondly, everyone knows about the UFC pay for fighters or lack thereof. How does a company like Bellator compare to the UFC with their pay? I love when people bring this up. What about Bellator? You know, Bellator makes a hell of a lot less money than the UFC, right? And oh, by the way, like for the guys like Gegard and Ryan Bader, they actually have to overpay for people to get them to come over. You know, it's a thing where it's like, the lower class, the entry level UFC is higher. Mid-tier, obviously there's a lot more in the UFC, but mid-tier, I would say UFC is higher. And obviously the top tier UFC is higher, but they're also making a hell of a lot more money. Like they're making, you know, sometimes $30 million an event. There's no Bellator event that's making that kind of money. $5 million gate. There's no Bellator event that's making that. So it's apples to oranges. But I will say, for some of these guys that they've had to bring over, they've had to overpay. There's no doubt about that. Thirdly, just finished The Wire. The saddest part about it was seeing young Duquan shoot up heroin at the end and becoming the new Bubbles. Thoughts? I've never seen a second of The Wire. Believe it or not. Frank, have you seen The Wire?
I watched the first couple episodes of the first season.
Yeah.
It's pretty good, but I don't know why you're being asked about it.
Yeah, it's weird. I get asked a lot of weird things. Tom, morning, Ariel. Is the Masvidal Covington press conference the most anticipated since McGregor Khabib? No, I think it's gonna. I actually think it's gonna be somewhat cringy. I mean, the combination of like, oh, you know, the lines, the get up, and then the sure to be great media questions is gonna make it fantastic. Hardly watch those these days too. Who would have the biggest contract if they were fighting the UFC right now in their prime? Shamrock, Rutten, Randleman, Fry, or Severin? Wow. That's a good one. I'll go Shamrock. I'm assuming you're going with Ken? Maybe Frank? Either way, they knew to self-fight. Randleman too. Boss too. Fry too. I mean, they're all great, but I'll say Shamrock. Hey, Ariel. How would you matchmake / fix the logjam at the top of the heavyweight division if it were up to you? Is there really a logjam? I mean, so like I said, Francis is having surgery March 14th. Hope it all goes well. They might have to institute an interim belt, right? Let me see here. No word on Stipe yet. You got Stipe, you got Ciryl Gane. By the way, I wouldn't hate seeing Stipe versus Ciryl Gane, but Ciryl told us he's going to be out till the end of the summer. I don't think Stipe cares about that. There's the John Jones situation. Okay, perfect. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts. Let's say Francis isn't going to fight for the rest of the year, right? I would love to see Stipe versus John Jones, and you got Volkov and Aspinall. Stipe, John Jones, Gane versus Aspinall, if Aspinall wins. Tuivasa Blades, if Blades beats Dawkins. Is that a bad matchup for Tuivasa, though? I mean, eventually he's going to have to fight a wrestler guy. But yeah, that's the way I would go. And then Francis, we'll see what happens with him. Maybe he fights Tyson Fury next year. Oh, this is a great question. Adam, good afternoon, Ariel. Coffee or tea? Have a good day. Wow, what a great question. So I would say that I really love coffee. Like I really love it. Really love it. But I've been having these weird headaches. I've been reading about it. Having like weird stomach issues, and I sort of feel like I should stop drinking coffee. And I decided today, every day before the show, every morning I have a coffee. Today I didn't have it. And I'm trying to see how long I could go. But I'm actually kind of bummed about it because I love coffee. I love everything about coffee. I love the way it tastes. I love the way it makes you feel, for the most part. I always wanted to own a coffee shop. I'm just trying it out. If I had to pick between one or the other, like a nice cappuccino with good almond milk, not the There's nothing worse than the wrong almond milk in a cappuccino. If you get the wrong almond milk in a cappuccino, it tastes like burnt styrofoam. You got to get the good almond milk. You got to get like the barista kind. Oat milk, good too. But if you get the right kind of almond milk, like that's the goat. In a cappuccino on a nice cold day, hot. I don't like cold. I mean, it's just that's what makes life worth living, if you ask me. Tea's nice, and I'll have it quite often. Green tea, chamomile. I don't like any milk in the tea. It doesn't give me the same kind of, je ne sais quoi that I get from the coffee, but I don't know. These headaches are not very fun. I could be wrong, but you kind of have to, play around and see what's up. It could just be this light that's blaring on my face that, is blinding me. It could be that as well. Oded. Hi, Ariel. Do you think that there's a chance that the situation in Europe might prevent Russian fighters from fighting in the U.S. or other countries in the foreseeable future? Russian teams have been suspended from EuroLeague. Russia might not be able to play in the FIFA World Cup. Yeah, I mean, this is something that they're going to have to deal with. It doesn't look like it's going to affect this weekend's card. It is going to get interesting with the UK card. Boris Johnson saying that, they're not going to let people from Russia come over, compete. So, yeah, this could be a thing. And especially if it keeps getting worse, it could definitely be a thing, for sure. Grant Dixon. And it's a weird thing, right? Because they have nothing to do with it, but this is what happens in war. How often, as a percentage, do your guests pre-interview ask you to avoid certain subjects, whatever they may be? Same question for your YouTube interviews. I would say, honestly, 0%. Now, it could be like 0.001, but can't remember the last time that happened. Truthfully, on my life. Derek, I've been a fan of your work and followed your programming for a long time. You are the best source for identifying and following the underlying storylines behind the fighters. Thank you. To that point, outside of your work, it is very hard to pick up on the storylines, especially when it relates to relatively unknown fighters. For that reason, I've always enjoyed watching TUF. I'm fully aware that not all seasons are major hits. But generally, I can at least find one or two fighters or storylines that I end up getting behind, such as Brandon Moreno. To follow their career from TUF to being a champion is amazing. Where's the question? I'd really appreciate your take on if there are any rival coaches or programming changes that would make you support TUF. I mean, it could change if it's not the same type of format where it's like, oh, these... So my response would be like, oh yeah, I don't need them living in the same house. I don't need them all training at the same place. I don't need the coaches. I don't need any of that. What I ultimately care about most is, are there fighters worth watching? Are there young studs worth watching, up-and-coming stars worth watching and caring about, right? And they could train at home and they could come together and then they could fight and then they can see who's the better fighter. And essentially what I'm talking about is Contender Series. And that's what kind of drives me a little bit bonkers about all this. Like, we have the evolution of TUF. They found it. Congrats. Mazel tov. They found the evolution of TUF. And then they brought back TUF. To me, Contender Series is the evolution of TUF. It's live. Remember, they tried to do live. It didn't work out. It was too long. It's the evolution of TUF. And yet they still brought back TUF. And now TUF is super watered down. It's about the talent. Why were those early seasons so great? Why was TUF 5 so freaking great with Nathan Diaz and Manny Gamburian and Rob Emerson and all these dudes? Because of the talent. The talent made it great. There just isn't enough talent. There's too many shows. There's too many fighters on the roster. There's Contender Series. There's TUF. There's Bellator. There's PFL. There's 43 events. It's not the same. Things change. Jose, hola Ariel, saludos. I want to know from the GOAT himself, how anxious are you for this weekend's pay-per-view? I got to say, this is one of the biggest rivalries. I'm not anxious at all. Why would I be anxious? Up there with DC Jones, Chael Jones. Nah. No, I mean, Chael Jones, this is bigger than Chael Jones, in my opinion. Also, hot take for you. I say this year provides the best fights in combat history. We're off to a very strong start, and I believe we get the fights we've so desperately been asking for. Okay. I mean, I don't get anxious per se. I get excited. I get pumped up. But I don't get anxious. I do agree with you. We are very spoiled. I don't think people realize just how spoiled we are when it comes to these fights. I mean, it's literally every weekend. There's at least one big fight to watch. Persian something. Hello, Ariel. I'm a fellow big noser myself who happens to be Canadian, born living in America. Hello, Maine. I was curious to know if you can please share with us your first paid job ever and whether you liked it or thought it was a goozy. Much love and butt slaps. First paid job ever. First paid job ever? I worked at a summer camp. I was a counselor. Probably the first paid job I had. Worked at a summer camp. Worked at like a textile factory. That did not go well. I lasted like 2 weeks. One of the guys I worked with didn't like me at all. And I was sitting on a chair eating lunch and I was like rocking back and forth. And he said he hoped that I fell off the chair and broke my head. It's a true story. I worked at a radio station, but I didn't get paid in 2000 before I went to college. Camp counselor was fun. It was all right. It was cool to make money. I was like, wow, here I am. I'm like 15, 16 making $300. It's amazing. Zach Payne. Good morning, Ariel. My question this week is, how does the PFL afford everything? Do they have some big time investor? Yes. Behind the scenes? Yes. They also have a lot of sponsors, but it's the investors. Absolutely. And Zach is asking about, how they give away those millions of dollars. It's at this point, the investors, a little bit of TV money, a lot of sponsorships. They've got a good sponsorship situation going on. But yes, I also agree. It is a little funky. Like you're giving away these $1 million contracts to, these prizes at the end to people who don't necessarily deserve it, and not deserve it in terms of like skill, but in terms of drawing power. And you're not really selling tickets as well. That's not going to last forever. This week's handicapped hot take for you. The Korean Zombie will KO Volkanovski in April for the title. By the way, we need to start keeping track of these hot takes. Like you just throw them out, but how many are you getting right? Good day, Ariel from Melbourne, Australia. I've always been curious with your guests or their management. Is there typically a process where you run through question topics pre-interview? No. Second question like this today. Or you just go in completely raw and use your best judgment? Yes. Eric, in an interview this week, Kamaru Usman said something along the lines of, if one guy loses, he'll talk his way into another fight. If the other guy loses, he'll have to do a lot of work to get back into another big-time fight. Megan O'Leary followed up by confirming that the former of the two men he was speaking of was Colby, and he said, yes. My question is, do you think that's true? In my mind, I think Masvidal is now on the same page as the Diaz brothers. Everyone will tune in whether he wins or loses just the same. To a degree, yes. On the other hand, I feel as though Colby can only talk so much until people get tired of it. Sure, doesn't have the same type of charisma, following. Yeah. By the way, I don't think any of these guys are getting a title shot with a win. So, Mo Lester. Hey, Ariel, with everything going on in Ukraine, do you think there will be any negative consequences for Russian fighters? Too early to say, but it is definitely possible. After Islam's most recent wins from Israel D, it sounds like a title fight is next. However, the one fight I could see him taking would be against Conor. Yeah, but honestly, if I'm representing Conor at this point, I'm saying, oh, yes, I got it. Oh, they're doing the old. I'm just not gonna read the names anymore. If you want to do that. If you want to play the games like that, I'll just not read the names. Not that it's, you want to call yourself whatever. I just won't read the names and everyone will pay the price. How about that? Do you think this is an actual possibility? No, I don't think Conor fights Islam. Question for GC. GC, you there?
Yup.
What is your theoretical money line for Khamzat and Kamaru?
Oh, man. You'd have to make Kamaru the favorite. I guess it all depends on how he looks against Burns. Minus 180 Kamaru, minus 150. Mm-hmm. If he goes out and dominates Burns, would you be shocked if they made Khamzat the favorite?
Kind of.
And then again, Usman's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ask me after the Burns fight. I would say Usman would be the definitive favorite.
What's definitive?
Minus 200 and up.
Right. All right. I can see that.
That guy hit me up on IG to stick around for it. I think you're giving me a bad rap. Everyone thinks I just leave after, on the nose. Go to the bathroom one time, get caught.
This question here is about Kayla. There seems to be like this misconception that they were going to announce her signing with the UFC if Amanda beat Juliana. That was never going to happen. It was never going to happen. Shalom Ariel, going into 2022, who do you think the next champion to fall is going to be? Not including Aljamain Sterling. Golly, no respect for Aljo? I don't like those questions because then I'm picking against someone and it's just not my thing. Side question, are there any open positions amongst the podcast that I can help out with? Need a change. Huge fan, Viva Helwani. You got anything for him, Frank, GC, Alex? Anyone got any openings? I get a lot of questions about internships, but I don't know if we do that sort of thing.
That's for old corporate Alex.
Yeah. Alex, you got any intern spots open?
He's just shaking his head.
Is that shaking yes or no?
I can't tell. It's
Okay. This is like hey Ariel, you're the GOAT. Shout out to G City 272. G City really sticking around. I like it.
Yeah, I kind of like it too. I love
Thanks.
it's right. GC and G City. Too.
Yeah.
DC, T City.
Oh, right. 272 is going to be crazy. I can't wait. Hopefully Colby the Cringe gets KO'd for the culture, but I want to ask you about what's next for Sean O'Malley. He posted about hearing that 274 will be in Arizona where he lives. I just want to ask you, I want to see him against Yanez. Yanez, sign me up. Yanez, May. Wait, May? Yes, May, Arizona. Ariel, just want to say thanks for all your stories about your anxiety at your time at Q's. I'm a Canadian international student in the UK playing rugby, and I've dealt with some seriously anxious moments. Your show's the one thing that brings me peace, man. Appreciate you big time, and this message doesn't do it justice. Thug knows you're a freaking beauty, bro. All the best. Your pal, Liam. Respect, Liam. And hang in there. Better days are ahead. You'll feel lonely. I'm sure I know to a degree what you are feeling, but better days are ahead. I promise you. Oh, how about this? You're the loudest voice in MMA when it comes to sounding off in favor of open scoring. Yes, I'm also the right voice. And all the time you've talked about it, you've neglected what's perhaps the biggest reason against open scoring. Oh, I can't wait for this. Is it about their feelings? I'm shocked no one has brought it up. Simply put, open scoring would allow for corrupt judges to play kingmaker, and there'd be no way to prove said corruption. If Judge 1 scores rounds 1 and 2 for fighter A, and Judge 2 scores rounds 1 and 2 for fighter B, a Judge 3 who scored 1 for A and 2 for B essentially gets... No, get out of here with this nonsense. Okay, just stop it with this nonsense. Enough already. Just try it. Enough of your stupid fakakta reasons as to why this is not going to work. Try it, okay? Try it. By the way, I like the 4-8 thing. That's a boxing thing, but just try it. By the way, give me one. Give it to me once after round 2, and in a title fight or 5-round fight, give it to me after round 3. How about that? Enough already. Judge A, Judge B, Judge C, Judge D. Hey, Big Papi, I've got an April Fool's Day idea that could ruffle some feathers. What are your thoughts about bamboozling people? Bamboozling people and saying that I believe that Henry is the GOAT over GSP. I mean, I would just be ridiculed and laughed at. This next question is asking me about my favorite type of egg. Egg preparation. Scrambled, fried, poached, or boiled. Or Benedict. Well, I guess poached would be on top of Benedict. What do you say, Frank? What's your favorite kind of egg?
I like fried.
Yeah. What about you, GC?
I used to be fried. I'm coming around to scrambled, though.
I always feel sort of like underwhelmed by scrambled.
Got to know how to make them.
Yeah. Boiled is okay. Poached, a nice Eggs Benedict is okay, but I actually one time saw a thing where they were talking about Eggs Benedict and they said, don't, like the sauce. Have you ever heard about this?
The hollandaise sauce?
The hollandaise sauce. Very unhealthy. It's like all this like butter. It's like old butter. They melt it and they put, it's like, don't do it. That's what I heard. So that kind of.
Yeah, I think it's just egg yolk and butter.
In the sauce?
That is the sauce.
I heard it's like really, really old butter. Anyway, I like a good smoked salmon Benedict. Sand sauce. This guy says he thinks that I'm a boiled egg fan and that I probably have one in my pocket. Not sure how to take that. Did you see the UFC London poster that dropped? Man, that poster is whack. I really don't understand. Marketing, it's all bought and paid for, guys. The brand is big. You don't need, these aren't important details right now. Possibility of a Jones-Stipe fight. I guess it's possible, but no talks of it right now. I noticed during Izzy's training camp videos on his YouTube page, he was training a lot of Taekwondo. Watching the fight, I was expecting to use a wider variety of kick combinations. Do you think this was due to the takedown threat? I mean, those videos are very hard. It's like they show you whatever they want to show you. Maybe he put that out there to make Rob think that he was going to do X, Y, and Z, right? Think about how often he's in the gym, how long he's in the gym. They're only going to show you a snippet. It's like when you see those videos of Melo at that gym in New York and he's hitting like 8 threes in a row. What about all the threes he missed? I don't know why I said Melo. He's always there with that guy, Brickley. You know that guy? I'm sure GC has that guy on his Instagram. You know what I'm talking about? Chris Brickley?
Yes.
It's a great video. Love it. Why hasn't Nate Dustin been made? Nate's contract. Who do you think Jorge and Colby will call up after either of them win? Maybe, I don't know. I guess the Conor thing, maybe. I don't know. Haven't thought of it. Greetings, Ariel. What do you think of a card in Mexico with Yair Ortega, Moreno Figgy, Aldana Holm, Grasso Mayo? Sign me up. Oh, this is fun. Another week, another star-studded lineup. Thanks to you. I was wondering what it felt like when you get the text back from Canelo's managers agreeing to the interview. Was this before or after Tyson and Eddie agreed to come back on the show? Lastly, what was the most surprised you've been by a proposed guest agreeing to be interviewed by you? Well, that was all Fred from DAZN. He was tremendous. I will admit there was a part of me that was like, oh, if they find out that they're on the same show as Tyson or Tyson finds out the same show as Eddie, will they be upset? Not a peep. Evan at Top Rank was huge. I mean, this is the thing, you know. Do you talk about these things? Do you not? It's just like, it's a pleasure to work with people who are appreciative of the platform, who want to have the guys on. Meanwhile, the sport that we talk about 98% of the day, you know, they treat us like, you know, we're outcasts, and that's fine. I'm totally fine with that. But I won't lie. It's nice to be, you know, it's nice to be treated like a pro with you know, some respect. So it was a great feeling. I was surprised Logan Paul did the show, and I was surprised how easy it was for him, you know, to do it. Like, it was just like I sent him a message. He responded like 30 minutes later, and his assistant reached out. You know, the chase is fun. The worrying after, like, are they going to come on? Are they going to be late? And you see, like, everyone comes on. Everyone's relatively on time. The chase is fun. Like, I love throwing out, like, Hail Marys. And then, you know, every so often they hit. Sometimes they don't. The chase is fun, for sure. So it's great. You know, again, people do this for a living, but I enjoy the chase. What is your Mount Rushmore of fighters who never won a belt in the UFC? Oh, man. Hendo, Musasi. Now, does Fedor count because he didn't make it to the UFC? Mirko. Does Big not count because he won the interim? I'm going to say he doesn't count. I'll go with those four. I'm trying to think. Probably those four. I feel underwhelmed about this weekend's main event. I feel like the winner and loser have no clear moves after this. Who cares? Let's just see how it all kind of plays out. Do you feel this one is missing the mark a bit? I won't say it's missing the mark. I'll just say, like, I feel like it's happening 2 years too late. That's my main issue. Remember, they're both coming off multiple losses, knockout loss, Jorge. I just feel like it's like a tad too late. But could be wrong. Longtime fan, first-time contributor. I've noticed that most journalists do not show emotions, reactions while on camera. Example, while interviewing a guest, they tend to avoid nodding, shaking head, blah, blah. Is this something that is taught? No. I don't like when people interview someone, they go, Now, I do it sometimes. Yep. I hate when people interrupt. And sometimes when you do these Zoom interviews, like, you try to, you know, it happened a couple times with Tyson. I try to predict when they're going to end, and then you jump in so it keeps rolling. Sometimes it's better to just leave that beat, but you don't want that awkward pause. These are just things that you learn over time with reps. But the worst is an interview where the person is continuously interrupting, interjecting, giving their opinion, not actually asking questions, or asking 9 questions in 1 question. These are things that drive me nuts. P.S. If you start an MMA promotion, it should be called Juan Championship. Get it? Yes. Also, go Bills. Happy Wednesday, Ariel. You recently, and by the way, I'm not reading the names. So that one dude, you ruined it for everyone. Happy Wednesday, Ariel. You recently highlighted the anniversary of your day in London with Michael Bisping. Videos like that and the Rampage one at Katz's Deli are some of my favorite. Would you be interested in doing more videos like that? Yes, for sure. Maybe Liverpool with Till and Molly. Sure. Stockton with Diaz Brothers. Sure. Athens, Georgia with GC and Jed. Wow. How much do you pay that guy to say that? Going to my first event in Columbus later this month. Enjoy. Obviously going to watch every single fight, but I'm sure we'll be away from our seats sometime within the 6-ish hours. Might be an odd question, but what are some things I should look for or experiences that I shouldn't miss while I'm there? Well, sometimes they have things like, in the, in the corridors and whatnot, concourse. But honestly, most of the fun is going to be at your seat in the arena. Sometimes they have things outside, but I doubt in March they're going to be doing that in Columbus. Favorite segment of the week, 2 questions. Who's the most famous person you have in your phone? Wow. The Rock? Does that one count? I guess The Rock, yeah. GC, does your gambling prowess extend beyond sports? Are you a big Vegas or AC guy with card games or dice games?
No. I play like, if I lose $50 in a casino, I'm done for the night.
Really?
Yeah,
Now,
I don't know why I love sports betting, just never gotten into the casino.
Now, but what about like sports in the casino?
I mean, yeah, going to a sports book, like placing it live, getting the actual paper ticket.
Yeah.
That's fun. Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure, yeah. I like watching my friends play in casinos.
You just like to be a voyeur.
Yeah, Montreal Casino. Virtual horses. That was some real degenerate stuff, but that was a good time that I had one time.
That is a fun one. I've been there a couple times. Used to have a yellow shirt from there. Before I ask a question, just want to say thank you for all that you do. Your work has been the source of much enjoyment for many a year. I used to listen to you on the way to from university classes, and now I listen to you during my commutes to work. Thank you. You somehow managed to make an hour-long drive feel like 5 minutes. Thank you. I will always remember, I guess, getting the chance to meet you after the 193 open workouts. Wow, second person that mentions it. Now to the important stuff. I have a very serious question. Would you rather have to surrender your phone for 3 months or do a shoey from a random person every day for a year? 100% the 3 months. 100%. Like, not even a question. Hi, Ariel. Is mensch a word only used for men? No. And if so, is there an equivalent word for women in Yiddish? There might be, but I would just say mensch. Asking because I contacted Roxanne Modafferi about submitting her writing to Clinch, my literary magazine, and wanted to call her mensch, but decided against it in fear of misusing the word or offending her. Nah, go for it. Any fear we have, we are a Shemaiah finish away from Leon getting Hop for the title again? No. Hey, Ariel, what's your thoughts on a potential Sean Brady versus Khamzat matchup? I'm down, but I think Brady's a little further back than Khamzat at the moment. Good morning, Ariel. Your interview with Logan got me thinking. If you had to pick one current UFC champ and one past champ to be U.S. president, who would you pick? Normal rules don't apply. I'd go with DC. And current UFC champ? Honestly, I'd go with... Well, do they have to be American born? I'm going to say no. I'm going to go with Francis Ngannou. How about that? That's what I'm going with. Any chance Nate Dustin headlines in the summer? Maybe the July 30th one. Shalom, Lord Helwani. I'm a lifelong resident of downstate New York, Sullivan County, and every summer there's an influx of Jewish visitors from New York City, Long Island, and New Jersey. As a proud Jewish New Yorker yourself, have you and or your family ever spent time in the Catskills? No. Driven by it, but never spent. But I'd like to. Hey, Ariel, great interview with Logan Paul. I saw a side of him I've never seen before, and you turned me into a fan. Wow, thanks. He mentioned that he can't look at his old YouTube videos prior to his incident in Japan. I have a feeling I know where you're going with this. And I wondered if you also have a line in the sand with your catalog that you cringe at when looking back on. Do you ever watch old episodes? It's hard for me to watch last week's episodes, let alone ones from 10 years ago. So I understand where he's coming from. Now, for me, it's just like you see yourself, I don't necessarily cringe. I'm just so critical of myself that it's hard for me. His stuff is like, it's hard to watch because he's so out there. But I totally understand that. That being said, I won't watch today's show. It's just hard for me. It's really hard. It's hard for me to listen. I was listening to my wife wanted to listen to the Steve-O interview yesterday, and I just couldn't listen to it. Like 2 minutes in, I'm like, all right, I've had enough of this. I can't do it. I don't know why. Ariel, tell your Hogan's heel turns. Ariel, tell your Hogan turns heel story and how'd you react? I was not watching live. I wasn't watching wrestling that closely back then, and I certainly wasn't watching WCW. Afterwards, I did, but I wasn't watching live. I thought it was brilliant. I always wanted to see John Cena turn heel. I always thought that would be fun, but I guess the merch was too great. But I always thought Cena heel would be amazing. Question for you. Have you ever heard of the rappers West Side Gun, Conway the Machine, or Benny the Butcher? Benny the Butcher, huge Bills fan. So yes, I've heard of them. I feel like they'd be incredible guests to get on together for your standalone channels. They're from Buffalo. Yeah, Benny the Butcher. And never miss a WWE or AEW event. All right, thank you. Hello, Ariel. If Khamzat and Colby both win, do you think they'll face each other? It's not a bad shout, but the problem is if Colby wins and then beats Khamzat, you're left with Colby as number one contender again. What are your thoughts on Kayla Harrison, more than likely signed with PFL? I was hoping she'd go to Bellator, not because I'm anti-PFL. I just wanted to see the new matchups there and wanted to see her versus Cyborg. I just think that it's the same old. If maybe they could do 145 for Kayla this year, but I think it's too late for that. My new hope is PFL signs Cyborg and we get that fight over there. That's my new hope. Ariel, huge fan. Fellow Newhouse grad. I have a question about UFC contracts. When a fighter signs a 5-fight contract, do they get the same amount for all 5 fights? No, it usually goes up a little bit, depending on where they're at, but it usually goes up. Also, reminder, you could get cut after one. You could renegotiate after one. So if you lose, you could get cut. If you win, you can't. Or is that amount? So, no, yeah. So, Ariel, when you first had Volkanovski on the show, he was 3-0 in the UFC with one finish. What made you see he was so special at the time? I don't know. I mean, that's why I love doing this show, talking to some of the younger fighters, the up-and-coming fighters. I think that one was actually a pitch, but I'm not going to say I'm like some, great scout here, but I honestly don't remember. How many pay-per-view buys do you predict this card will do? I'm really curious about it. I'm going to predict between 5, 7, maybe 6. They've been doing well lately. And again, not a lot of competition this weekend. Hello, Ariel. I finally thought of a question good enough to ask after listening to your show for months. It makes my work days go by much faster, so thank you for that. Could you rank these in order of likelihood of being on your show one day? White, Shab, Abdelaziz. I mean, honestly, I think Shab would come on next week. So I'll put him on first. And then I'll put Ali on next because he's a salesman and eventually this is going to go away, is my prediction. And then I'll put Dana last because he holds the grudge the longest. Hey, Ariel, thanks for everything that you do for the MMA community. I've always kind of watched you from afar. And as time went on, I watched more interviews. I found myself slowly integrating your show into my life and has become a must-watch listen on Mondays and Wednesdays. Thank you. What do you think is a higher chance of happening? Jorge winning by KO or Colby winning by submission? That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. I'll say Jorge by KO. I can't see Jorge getting submitted by Colby. Hello, Ariel. 2-part question. I never bought Islam actually stepping in to fight RDA. Good. Who do you think took the misstep in calling out Dos Anjos? I don't know. Islam or management? Who knows? One and the same. When life gets too stressful or overwhelming, what is something or an activity you do to try to relax, de-stress? Viva Helwani. That's a great question. Probably don't do a good job of that if I'm being honest. I love the weekends. I love going to sports with my kids, like watching them play sports. That's fun because you can kind of like zone in and watch. Love watching them play soccer, flag football, stuff like that. Working out, going for a run helps a lot. Like running to the park, you don't look at your phone. That definitely helps. Going to sleep, but that's at night. But yes, I need to do a better job of that for sure. Ariel, if you had to make an ultimate MMA fighter, who would you pick for the following attributes to form them? Oh, this is too much. It's too late in the game for that. I don't like those questions where it's like, take this. Like, you're making me think. Just let me give you the goods here. Jezza Q back again. Getting used to this now. Quick observation from me this week. Does New York Rick look like a poor man's Roman Reigns or what? Wow. That's a strong take. Highlight of my week is listening to these shows. Can you give my pal John Millwall Smith a shout out? Respect. Wow. And New York Rick actually responded. Now, is this the actual New York Rick? New York Rick, like deep into the archives, wrote, I'm the real big dog. That chump wishes. I'm going to guess it's not New York Rick, but maybe I'm wrong. We shall find out. Do you think the beef between Jorge and Colby is 100% genuine? Yes. I know you have some issues with Rogan. I mean, it's just that one, really. Rightfully so. However, I would love for you to do his podcast. Not up to me, guys. It was New York Rick. That's amazing. Wow. How did you find that? That's incredible. We need to get like one of those things like Baba Booey and Howard where there's the camera and the microphone in his house too, because the delay in him responding on Slack is killing me. How did he find that? How did he find that question in the midst of all these questions? Ariel, how does a listener get immortalized on that famous wall? Haven't really got there yet. Streaking through the octagon? No. Surprise kissing Dana? No. I'm not going to encourage any of that. I appreciate your integrity in covering the sport. Thank you. I was as casual as they come, until I started learning the fighter story through your content. Thank you. Here's a freebie for you to use whenever you see fit. I haven't seen anyone else suggesting this. To support open scoring, the best analogy I could think of is ball strike count in baseball. Can you imagine the ninth inning of the World Series ending on a highly contested strikeout because the ump blew it on a called first strike so the hitter and fans didn't even know he was behind the count? Yes. Respect. Ups to GC for his continued festive spirit. Love the hats, love the decor. How about that? Sounds like Jorge is asking announcers to drop the S in his name. Do you think he's trying to get closer to how you pronounce it? Is that true? Jorge Masvidal. Let's see who's cooking what. Do you know what is getting discussed in terms of fights for Paulo Costa? No. Gregor Gillespie? No. Sean Brady? No. Rory McDonald? No. Askarov? Pantoja? Blanchfield? No. Dylan Dennis. Why is everyone raising their hand to jump in against RDA? But we heard crickets to jump in against Islam. I mean, I feel like you know the answer to that. What is the Ariel fight viewing experience like? I really just like sit here and watch I sit at home, watch on my computer, this computer, and take notes, look at Twitter. I used to watch in a room with a TV, none of that. I like to have my eyesight sucks, so I like having everything super close to me and having the multiple windows up. And that's pretty much it. It's not that fun, if I'm being honest. Okay, just a couple more. Some days these shows can go for a very long time, and I've never seen you leave to go to the bathroom. What type of sorcery are you trained in to enable such magic? I don't know. At some point, I'm going to have to. Oh, wow. New York Rick question. Can you explain what the end zone from American football is again? Didn't quite follow. What a guy. Ariel, do you think we'll ever see the big quarterly press conferences again? Sure. Okay, just a couple more here. Greetings, Ariel. What are your thoughts on MMA introducing a challenge system? If a fighter thinks he's been fouled and the ref doesn't see it, he signals to the ref to make a challenge. Gets a little too convoluted. Not sure I love it. Big question here. What do you think about Bryce Mitchell's approved camo shorts, Bebe? I didn't see him, but good for him. Respect. Any update on Nate? Not yet. Moving the right direction. Quick shout out to your former coworker, Tony, who ran your board op at ESPN. True. Anthony Cataluyid. He works for Lebitard now and is hosting a watch-along for the prelims on the YouTube channel. Would be cool for El Nariz to pop in for that Helwani bump. Wow. Tony was the man. Yes, he was TST before TST joined. My early days at ESPN, great guy. Now with the Meadowlark Army, the pirate ship, and I love that. I actually don't think he was an MMA fan before we met, and I think now he's a big MMA fan. So I'd love to see it. Just like most people I meet. Like now Frank does watch-along parties. He's on Reddit all day. Like, how are you watching 272 on Saturday, Frank? What's your plan?
I was going to try to go to Connor's.
Oh, Connor. Any
The
space?
offer is on the table.
Wow. Okay.
I'm happy to have Frank over. I'll have the pay-per-view on 2 TVs. I don't know what's going to be on the second one yet.
Okay.
Shout out to Tony. He is the man.
Yeah. You know Tony?
He probably doesn't know me. I went down to Libertard Studios one time and like I sat in for a show and he was the one that like liaisoned to me. He was a great guy.
This is great guy. Never met him?
No, I have met him.
Oh, you have
I met him. Spent a few hours with him. No, yeah, great guy. Probably does not remember me.
This is pre Meadowlark Lebitard.
This was when Lebitard was still part of ESPN Radio, yeah.
You want to know something crazy? January of 2020, I'm in Miami. I'll never forget this for as long as I live. I'm in Miami because I was doing sidelines for Clippers Heat Friday night, ESPN, right? And I think Mike Ryan found out. I tweeted about it, invited me to come in studio, which was a huge deal. It was amazing. I get to go in studio, like the Clevelander. This is a big deal. And I got to go in studio for a couple segments, and Stugatz let me read the update. He did like the news update, the ESPN News, the Sports Center, whatever.
Yeah.
And one of the items was that a top-ranked card in China was canceled and going to be rescheduled because of something called the coronavirus. And I remember reading it for the first time. This is like mid to late January in 2022. I'm like, coronavirus. And I remember the quote from Bob Arum was, "We've got Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder next month. I'm not going to go to China." And he said something like, and catch some, I think he said some like cockamamie disease, if my memory is correct. I'm almost 100% sure he said that. And I was like, what is coronavirus? I remember saying this. What is coronavirus? What a strange name that is. And then lo and behold, like, a month and a half later, everyone knew what coronavirus was. Actually, on that episode, they dared me to say like one of their lines on the broadcast. And I said it within like the first 10 seconds of my first hit on the broadcast. They made me compare the LA Clippers to the stars of the UFC. And I made some good comparisons, by the way. I was like, hey, I cover fighting, and here I am going to compare the Clippers to, the stars of the UFC. I compared Kawhi to Stipe, because I was like, Kawhi is the reigning MVP champion, quiet, unassuming. Stipe, heavyweight champion, quiet, unassuming. I compared Patrick Beverly to Conor. Bit of a stretch, but just because he was like, outlandish, bit of a troublemaker, whatever. I don't remember any of the other ones. Did I do, what was the dude's name? Oh, no, I forget. The one who went to the Lakers and then he went, I think, to the Wizards. Oh, man. He was great for them. You know what I'm talking about? You're not a big basketball fan, are you?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who do you think I'm talking to?
Grab him one more time for me.
The dude who was on the Clippers and then he signed with the Lakers and everyone got mad at him.
Montrezl Harrell?
Yes, Montrezl Harrell. There you go. I think I compared him to like Usman. Actually, I think New York Rick helped me with some of these. Some of them were a little bit off, but at the very beginning, I was like, this is an important conversation. I'm glad we're having it. That's a Lebitard line. Everyone loved it. Shout out to Lebitard. All right. By the way, I'm happy we have that number up there. That's an impressive number.